As their massive collision approaches, Conor McGregor is sending a final chilling threat toward Holloway, making it absolutely clear that once the octagon door locks, there will be no escape routes left for his rival.
The prediction is going to be a good bout. Tune in.
29, the Mac is back. I'm coming in hot, fast and heavy and ferocious. You don't want to miss it. Let's go.
Max Holloway isn't dismissive of the intense energy coming from McGregor's camp, choosing instead to show mutual respect by acknowledging Conor as a true warrior, whose extended time away from competition likely provided the perfect window to heal old wounds and reset completely.
Fighter, man, a true-born fighter. He's made for this, and I'm excited that I'm the person that's walking him back to the octagon. A dangerous Conor McGregor, everybody keep talking about how he's been away for 5 years, and that's a bad thing. Man, that might actually be a great thing. Get your body, get to reset. The man got a lot of money. I'm sure he's doing the right things at the right time. I know we saw a lot of bad media stuff on him, but they're not following him around 24/7. So you don't know what he's doing every second. And I can compare it to that, not in the craziest way, but I play video games, and everybody thinks, oh, I play video games for 2 hours that I need to go train. I'm like, bro, come on. But at the end of the day, I think there's two sides to the story, and I think I'm gonna see the best Conor McGregor there is, man.
When it comes looking closely at the technical details, the Irishman acknowledges his opponent's incredible skill set and future Hall of Fame trajectory, though he firmly maintains that his own martial arts capabilities belong in an entirely separate tier.
Hello, Brownie. You're gonna see mastery, a master at the martial arts, at the work. Yes, Holloway fought Volkanovski 3 times. I watched some of the bouts. I watched the bouts at the time, and then I watched the most recent one only the other day. I've taken some good things from it for sure. So there you go. Two good fighters. 2 lesser fighters to the Mac. And I'm going to prove that here on Saturday night.
Michael Bisping considers the Hawaiian to be the absolute toughest test standing in the way of McGregor's return, highlighting the spectacular performance displayed against Justin Gaethje as proof that this matchup is nearly impossible to call.
Now, in that 5 years where Conor's been away, Max Holloway has been fighting the very best talent that is available, the best fighters in the world, and oftentimes beating them. Like, for example, his last fight, or his last victory, should I say, was against Dustin Poirier, the man that beat Conor not once, but twice in a row. Yes, for the BMF, he lost his BMF belt, which he took off Dustin Poirier, but he lost that to Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira took him down, okay? Simple as that. Took him down, took his back, right? Tried to choke him out. No shame in that. But Conor McGregor isn't going to do that. He hasn't not got that kind of style.
Taking a broader view of the situation, Cody Garbrandt highly commends the massive cultural wave McGregor brought to mixed martial arts alongside the pure grit fueling this return, arguing that since his place in history is already secure, this comeback stems entirely from a raw passion for fighting rather than chasing approval.
Good to have him back. Like I said, I love a good comeback story. He's done so much in the sport, for the sport, catapulted to the next level, and just to show how obsessed he is and determined he is to come back, and that he loves the sport, because he doesn't have to do this. He doesn't have to come and fight. He doesn't have to do this. He's got a legacy. He's got the money. He's got the fame. He can ride off into the sunset. But for him, he's, wants to prove to himself that he can still do this.
With the event drawing near, McGregor opens up about the punishing nature of this training camp, noting that the physical and mental toll tests even a seasoned veteran, yet he is choosing to channel his focus into harnessing his signature aggression rather than picking apart his own mental state.
I love fight night, fight week, and God willing, I'm back here next week and the week after. How many weeks is in a year? 54. There you go. I could fight every week if it's a go. Before the injury, I had maybe 3 within the year. People don't recall that. And yeah, now there you go. I plan on getting busy here. The arena, right? I'm the one that's making the walk, so I'm the one who's pushing for it and campaigning for it. I'm sure that is the case. Now, I've said my piece with the Ultimate Fighting Championship and their staging of my bouts, and they've said their piece, and it's kind of fallen on, let's let it happen on Saturday night and let's talk. And I'm fine with that. I'm absolutely fine with that.
When discussing his current psychological approach, the former double champion outlines a careful equilibrium where he remains perfectly accessible and grounded, while keeping his competitive killer instinct razor sharp, noting that he has tapped into an ideal state of flow,
How about everything that comes with fight week? I know you've talked about this before, that it is taxing, it is exhausting, but you're used to it, but now here you are and you're in it, and you have lived such a crazy experience, a unique experience that people want to hear about it. How much of yourself do you want to share at this point in your career?
Well, it's fight week. I won't be getting on a therapist's chair on fight week, do you get me? Yeah. So I need to keep that fire and that venom. Literally, that is what it will be. It will be venomous inside this octagon. And I'm an open book. What you see is what you get with me. I always try and speak my truth, and at the best of me, I try and encourage others and inspire others and motivate others, and that's kind of what I'll do, without getting too much into anything soppy or anything. I'll keep that.
Breaking down the matchup logistics, Dominic Cruz voices skepticism regarding the choice to contest this bout at welterweight, pointing out that McGregor is using his immense leverage to manufacture ideal fight terms that potentially compromise Holloway's chances.
170 pounds, we have never seen Max Holloway fight there. Why would Conor use his platform? If he can't get the venue, he's got to get something right. So he's going to make it at his weight class. Rather than fighting him at Max's true weight class, where we know we would see the best Max, Conor's going to move him up to a weight class he's never fought in. I mean, to me, it's like, okay, I get it, but why is that? Well, we've heard him admit it. I had to use juice. The doctors prescribed it to me to heal my bone. My bone was broken in half.
Cruz goes on to emphasize the transforming corporate climate within the promotion, pointing out that elite draws like McGregor, Ronda Rousey, or even crossover stars like Jake Paul command the leverage required to call their own shots, which completely changes how high-profile matchups are made.
You take away all Max's advantages by taking away his speed. He doesn't possess the same power as Conor. We saw that in their first fight. He just doesn't. He's an accumulative puncher. He throws punches in bunches. He throws combinations. He flows. He moves. He uses his footwork. He's quick. He's rhythmic. Conor is a counter fighter with rhythm and timing, but he's got big power. When you make this fight at 170, you take away Max's speed. You take away all his best advantages. When you watched him versus Calvin Kattar, that was the best version of Max I think we've ever seen.
Drawing from his own experiences at the sport's highest peak, the former champion provides unique insight into the exact brand of psychological warfare and physical toll that a monumental return like this demands from an athlete.
I'd like to point out that when I came back for one of my fights, I had broken my ulna, which is a bone in my left forearm, and it snapped in half, and the doctors told me there's a 20% chance of a non-union. And I actually had a non-union take place. So they didn't put a plate in there. They didn't heal it. They said, just let it heal for 3 months. So I went 3 months with the broken forearm, just trying to hope it would heal without any training, without anything, because you just hope that the bone grows back together. After the 3 months was over, I went to the doctor and they said, oh, well, you do have a non-union. It did not heal together. So now after this 3 months of you sitting around, we have to go in and put a plate in there. So that was devastating for me.
Shifting the conversation to his ultimate footprint in the sport, McGregor voices real annoyance at being left out of all-time great conversations, identifying this upcoming clash as the ultimate opportunity to reclaim his throne and prove he is the definitive king of the 145-pound division's history.
Prove my level. I have many things that I've taken in this camp that have been fuel to my fire. One, the greatest featherweight of all time, or this ranking system of the greatest featherweights, that I'd beaten these men and hadn't been in the list. How have I beaten these men easily and handily, and yet be kept from the list? All things. Who's the greatest featherweight? What's my skill level? Max and that's why I love Max as an opponent. He's fought so many people, and he's a very impressive body of work inside the octagon. He's for sure a future Hall of Famer, and now I get to go in and showcase my level.
The former middleweight King Bisping stresses that moving up to the 170-pound division introduces a chaotic wild card that completely reframes this rematch from their original encounter, noting that the massive shifts in physical frame and striking power leave the final result completely up in the air.
Danger for Max Holloway is that this fight is at 170 pounds. And one thing that Conor McGregor has always had is explosive knockout power. Knocked out Jose Aldo with pretty much the first punch. 13 seconds is all it took. Knocked out Eddie Alvarez in stunning fashion. out of his entire career with Conor McGregor. I'm just scrolling down his Wikipedia page. There's a lot of stuff on here. Normally I would be there by now, but I'm nowhere near it. My God, we're going through all the pay-per-views. Right, here we are. 22 wins, 6 losses, 19 wins by way of knockout. So that's a crazy knockout ratio. Donald Cerrone, 40 seconds. Eddie Alvarez, Nate Diaz. Well, that was a decision, wasn't it? After getting beaten and choked out by Nate Diaz in the first one. Jose Aldo, Chad Mendes, Dennis Silva, Dustin Poirier the first time they fought, Diego Brandao, Max Holloway, which was the only time he went to a decision, by the way.
Focusing heavily on endurance, Bisping raises red flags about the notorious stamina issues that have plagued McGregor in past late-game situations, suggesting that if the former featherweight king can survive the opening barrage and push the action into the championship rounds, the tide will turn heavily in his direction.
If he gets out of the first round and he goes to the second and the third round, Conor McGregor was never a cardio machine. He was always a guy that tended to fade in the prime of his career. And if he struggled going into the later rounds in the prime of his career when he was coming up, he's certainly going to struggle now when the man's pushing 40 and he hasn't fought in 5 years. Has he trained hard for this fight? Of course he has, 100%. Has he pushed himself harder than what he was doing in 2013, 14, 15? I don't know. I don't know if that's even possible when you have accumulated all the wealth, when you've knocked it out of the park, when you've conquered the game already. Do you still have to train quite as hard, right? Because if he has done, then maybe. But even when he was, because he had to have been back in the day, he still got tired the longer the fight went.
Chael Sonnen openly admits he finds it difficult to map out a clear blueprint for a McGregor victory, noting that when it comes to tactical awareness, ground combat, or sustained pressure, Holloway's veteran poise and title fight experience provide a massive advantage.
Justin would stand up and trade with Conor, and Conor's faster than Justin. That's interesting. It really is. I can't see through the forest. I can't see a way for Conor to get the jump on Max. I'm trying to make one. I can tell you a whole lot of things that he can't do. I can tell you a whole bunch of things that Conor cannot do. But I'm trying to find the one thing that he can. I mean, I would tell you as clearly as I know how to stake a reputation. He cannot win a decision. I'm not telling you that he won't. It's very different words. I'm not saying to you Conor McGregor won't win if it goes to a decision. I'm telling you he can't.
In regards to the iconic moment where Holloway dares his opponent to trade punches in the center of the canvas, Sonnen anticipates that McGregor will anticipate the gesture entirely, and might even initiate the sequence first to hijack the spotlight and establish the tempo immediately.
And Conor's smarter than everybody else. So are your only two options that you either oblige or you don't? No, but that's how we see it. He's a smarter, more calculated entertainer. So he would have a third answer. But most likely, Conor's going to point down himself. Most likely, the great orchestrator, the great fighter, and the great entertainer, Conor McGregor, who knows that this is something that Max does and wants to do and gets attention in the headlines for, most likely, Conor already has a plan.
Wrapping up his strategic overview, Sonnen asserts that the path to victory for the Irish superstar relies entirely on finding a quick stoppage, potentially matching his opponent's legendary output blow for blow to deliver the explosive highlight the public is waiting to see.
Conor knows everything that I just said is true. He's not going to see a 5th round. He's not going to see a 4th round. He's not going to be on his back using his rubber guard. He's going to have to get Max out with his hands, and he's going to have to get him out of there sooner rather than later. I think it's a very realistic prediction that Conor flips the script on Max, Conor walks out, Conor points down, and these guys have exactly the kind of fight that you fantasize they would have.
From a physical standpoint, McGregor insists he feels remarkably natural carrying the welterweight frame, reassuring fans that the added muscle mass hasn't compromised his quickness or fluidity, and he views this specific iteration of himself as the most lethal threat he has ever brought into battle.
The fight is at welterweight, but you get what I'm saying. I beat these men handily, absolutely easily. And yet I go on my career and they listen to this, that these men are better than me in the featherweight division, even though I beat them. So You know, that was motivation for me in the camp, fuel for me in this camp, for sure. I'm excited to compete here at welterweight also. You know, I feel good at this weight. I've had some excellent performances in the welterweight division. Saturday night's going to be another one. Look, styles make fights. It's not a good matchup for him. It's not a good matchup for him. He's a good fighter. He's not a bad fighter. He's not on the level of the Mac.
The analysts at Bedtime MMA provide a comprehensive breakdown of the welterweight landscape, evaluating how the Dublin native's overall strategy has transformed since his featherweight days, and highlighting where the true tactical edges lie for both competitors when they finally step into the cage.
I think 170 does favor Conor. I feel like overall, I mean, it's so difficult coming off a huge layoff to fight. I mean, I can't even imagine. I've never taken that long of a 5-year layoff, you know what I mean? Like,
and a career-ending injury.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what he looks like or feels like. You know, we don't know. We don't know, and I think that's part of like the selling point of the fight, right? It's like what's gonna happen? Like, is he gonna show up and be in his prime? You know what I mean? Is he gonna show up and look washed? You know what I mean? I would find it really depressing if Conor just shows up really washed. I hope that he shows up and, like, even if he loses, like, he looks good. And then maybe slows down a little bit. I'd be like, all right, cool, this is cool. We can do something with this.
That's like a win, I feel, right? Like,
the commentary team highlights how the Hawaiian has transitioned into a highly elusive, counter-striking defensive specialist, while looking back at their initial encounter as a masterclass in how McGregor utilized diverse kicks and constant forward pressure to completely disrupt his opponent's timing.
I don't know if Max is necessarily going to go like trading with Conor. I think he's actually going to play very like skittish and be on the outside. And we've seen that more from him throughout his career, especially like now that he's been rocked a couple times and dropped and got finished by Ilia Topuria, obviously. I feel like you see him play a little bit more of like that Matador type of game. Like even against Dustin, he was kind of like throw a combo, then circle away, then circle away. And in the first fight, Conor McGregor did a really good job of like cutting off Max, like just pushing him back, cutting him off, using kicks. Because there's no wrestling threat, he could really square up and throw big kicks at him to kind of keep him stuck against the cage side.
That concludes our in-depth analysis of the highly anticipated McGregor versus Holloway showdown as we count down to the summer event. So make sure to leave your official predictions down below. Share what element of this fight has you most hyped, and remember to hit that like button and subscribe for continuous updates.